Welcome in to another edition of The Meltdown. Robert Downey Jr. is making bank to return as Marvel's new top on-screen villain. Just how much green is associated with the role of Dr. Doom, we will discuss. A superhero cinema casting draft will lead to us picking a team of perfect performer placement. Which grouping of heroes and villains will win the day? You'll have to stick around to find out. And no stranger to superhero cinema, it's Christopher Nolan. And it's his birthday. Instead of us singing happy birthday for the acclaimed director, we will present a list of John's 5 favorite soundtracks associated with the Oscar winner on another Luntz's list. It's all happening right here on The Meltdown as we are broadcasting live from the Culver studio, and we are presented by our title sponsor, MyBookie.
2 big balls in a tiny studio, teaching you and me about everything they know to make sound. A meltdown, it's the meltdown, time for the meltdown, coming for the meltdown, let's start the show.
Welcome in, all of you beautiful Meltdonians, to the program. We are thrilled to have you here with us live daily, 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern. We appreciate you making us a part of your daily routine. Tons of content here on the channel. If you have not yet witnessed it, all of our retro trailer reactions, we have a new one coming out this week. Road to Perdition will be the replacement pick that has been pulled from the Dune popcorn bucket by our good friend Brian Pavlik, and we will be watching that this week and giving you our retro review on Thursday. So we're looking very forward to that. We have tons of great content when it comes to House of the Dragon, as that season of television, season 2, is winding down. We are in the home stretch of getting to that final episode this Sunday, and you get a chance to catch up on all of our discussion. Who knows, maybe you're a few episodes behind. Go watch those, watch our discussions, and then you can be a part of the small council there for our final stamp on season 2 of House of the Dragon. So much in the works here. Deadpool and Wolverine continues to rake in the big bucks, and Marvel continues to be a major focus of conversation. Here to have the conversation with me, that's the other half of the Meltdown, Mr. John Lunsford. John, we have learned that Robert Downey Jr. is making significantly more than $80 million to play Dr. Doom in the 2 upcoming Avengers movies. His deal is also filled with perks that include private jet travel, dedicated security, and a whole trailer encampment for anybody that he decides to bring along with him. When we have been saying for months that they were going to back up the Brinks truck to bring Robert Downey Jr. in to save a $1 billion per film average franchise, we weren't joking. If you've been listening to this show, that's been a conversation we've been having for months. And guess what? It has officially happened. Do you have any type of resentment, like I'm sure much of Hollywood does, that Robert Downey Jr. is getting paid these bucks to return to the MCU as a character that's not even Iron Man?
It wasn't just one Brinks truck. It was multiple Brinks trucks, especially once you bring in the Russos as well as a part of the whole deal that Disney's having to pay for. I think it's probably going to be worth every penny, because if you do these right, then, because I still stand by, we will never have an Avengers Endgame level event ever again. But you could get very close to it with this, especially if Doomsday comes off well. Doomsday will clearly be a part 1, like Infinity War was a part 1. So you have a 2 movie, span to do this with, of which they will make at least $1 billion each. And if you're getting to Endgame levels, potentially 2. The movie industry is very different now, so I don't know when we'll see a $2 billion movie again, but there's a chance that something like this could get there if you're hitting on all cylinders by the time you get to that point, to where spending significantly more than $80 million, whatever that actual number ends up being, plus the money you pay for the Russos to come do those movies.
Plus Chris Evans' contract.
Plus Chris Evans, and there's going to be plenty of others as well that, will add, it won't be that big, but will add up. Ultimately, I still think it's probably going to end up being worth it, but, Marvel has flopped a little bit lately, that if they do, boy, it'll be a massive hit, but I think overall it'll be well worth it.
Robert Downey Jr. earned somewhere between $500 million and $600 million during his run as playing Iron Man over the course of 4 Avengers movies, 3 Iron Man outings, and cameos in The Incredible Hulk, Captain America Civil War, and Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, once again, Variety reporting that was a cameo there in Captain America Civil War. I would say that was not. I would say that was a pretty big starring role.
Robert Downey Jr. was a cameo role?
Correct. And once again, that's
it
Variety's
was literally
reporting.
Avengers
He's
2.5.
Civil War?
correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we were all talking about the same movie.
I'm just telling you that when, I'm seeing
was he in A24 Civil War somewhere in there in a cameo role that I didn't see? Yeah. It's like some random soldier in the background fighting.
That's pretty much what every soldier was, a random soldier, because we never got any motivation for what actually drove anybody to war.
Right, anyway, moving on.
Yes, we are a united front this week.
Save that energy for the draft.
Correct. While Robert Downey Jr. is making a lot of dough, we are eating much less dough now with our friends at Way to Wellness.
We are. Sorry, I'm trying to fix things.
Yeah, my camera's been wonky.
Well, let me just do the best transition ever again. Can you put the camera back on me? Here we go. We're going to pretend like... So, Robert Downey Jr. is earning a lot of money, 500 to 600 million, blah, blah, blah. While Robert Downey Jr. is making a lot of dough, John, we're eating much less dough with our friends at Way to Wellness.
That's right, Tim. We are eating a lot less dough. Thanks to our friends at Way to Wellness. Indeed, there is Tim weighing in. There is me weighing in. Look how happy we look. Look how happy Leslie looks in the back, because she knows she has done a great job with her whole board-certified team to help us out. You, too, can get a plan that will work for you, just like I have a plan that works for me. Tim has a plan that works for him. Jim Dunaway has a plan that works for him. My dad has a plan that works for him. It's a whole family of friends affair. Make sure to go to aplanforme.com. You can learn more about our friends at Way to Wellness.
Producer Tyler back here with us, and we appreciate all of his efforts. Tyler, I have some news that I'm not sure you're aware of.
I'm trying, Tyler.
It's all good, John. It's all good.
We have some news. I really would like to get this on camera. It is kind of big news, so
Tyler's
we're going to wait.
Fuzz.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to wait, and I'm going to fill you in.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Tyler, are you ready for the big reaction shot?
Yeah.
Tyler, we have officially passed 100,000 views on this channel, and that's really awesome in my opinion.
Blurry right when he did.
Did it
worked
get
for a
blurry?
second.
I
No.
wasn't even touching anything.
What would you like to say, Tyler, to all the Meltdonians that have shown their support over the past 5 months?
I'm smiling right now. You can't tell because the camera's so out of focus, but thank you to each and every one of you that's been watching every day, checking out the out of the theater reactions, even when I'm covering the worst, least heard of movies that are out.
Those are actually the best reactions, not to cut you off, but sometimes, like You're Not Another Church Movie reaction.
Yeah,
I've watched that 17 times, so...
Oh, well, thanks for running that up, Tim.
Gotta be honest, I don't know if I watched that one 17 times, but yeah.
Thanks for watching the trailer reactions, the retro trailer reactions, us previewing new movies, us reviewing new movies, reviewing The Acolyte. Thanks for sticking through it all with us, and I hope everybody continues to do so until we just pass 1 million views, 2 million views. Keep going.
I love it.
Say until we pass out. It's like,
Yes. We're trying
That
to
too.
get to
it's not enough in here in May.
We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers here before the end of the summer season, and things are winding down here. We're about to be in the back-to-school season as those shopping plans are being made for a lot of different individuals to make sure new lunch boxes and backpacks and markers and pens and all that's being purchased. It does feel too hot to return to school, John. I know this isn't an entertainment subject, but
Well, we were talking about it last
gosh,
night.
I hate how hot it is.
A member of the poker club that works at a school and was talking about going back Thursday for a meeting, and that the teachers officially report Friday, which is the 2nd, I believe.
Correct.
I mean, I remember when I was in school, like when I first started in kindergarten,
Back in my day.
it was like Labor Day, I think. And then it got to August and it kind of slowly moved back, but we never got to like single digits. I never wanted to get to single digits in August. Well, now he's going back on August 2nd, and I assume the kids will report sometime next week, which will still be single digits. It's too hot. It's still summertime. Kids, I'm so sorry.
Now, I do wish that we could cool it off a little bit here before we get back to school, but we appreciate all those that are currently out of school that are watching us here on The Meltdown. I want to get right into Luntz's list because we have a very, very intense type of experiment coming up. We did this last week. It was the best desserts draft of what would be considered to be the best sweet treats, and there is no mistake about it, no recount needed. John Lunsford won that vote. But it is a new week, and it is a new chance for other competitors like myself and Tyler to knock John off the mountaintop of being the current draft champion, along with the Triple Threat Trivia World Champion. He'll put up his title tomorrow against two very strong contenders.
I won the last poker event we had, and then I finished dead last night. I won the last time I competed in trivia, which means I'm heading to finish dead last. I won the last draft I did, which means I'm heading to dead last. So if things are trending that way, congrats Russell or Burnin for trivia, and congrats to one of y'all today for the draft.
We will see if that ends up being the case, but we're all going to have to fight for it of best superhero casting decisions of all time. But I did mention one of the best superhero trilogies we've ever seen in the Dark Knight trilogy. Christopher Nolan, the director behind that. He was born on this day in 1970. He is my favorite director of all time, and he continues to remain at the top of his craft after winning Best Director for the Best Picture winning film Oppenheimer earlier this year at the Oscars. It would have been far too easy to have John rank his 5 favorite Nolan films, so we are shifting to the music that is so heavily infused into his films on another edition of Luntz's List.
What is this? What is this? Luntz's List, Luntz's List, oh. What is this? What is this? Luntz's List, Luntz's List, oh. Luntz's List to five. Luntz's List to five. Luntz's List to five. Luntz's List to five.
Alrighty, John. It is time to name the 5 albums that you feel are your personal favorite soundtracks in the history of Christopher Nolan's filmography.
There obviously will be overlap between favorite movies because music can very much lead to a
Absolutely.
Movie moving on up the list, as is the case definitely with my number 1. But 2, I would say 3 of these 5 movies would probably be on my top 5 overall of Nolan. And this is also one of those lists typically that I like to call a list I lose, because people will be like, you didn't include blank on there, which I did not include. I would probably put it 7th, but you'll see what it is.
I already know, based on your tone, what it is you're talking about, and I am shocked that it is 7th compared to top 5.
It's just me.
I'm assuming he means Interstellar is 7th.
No.
No? Okay.
No. Don't be shocked if Interstellar's way up on the list here. It being John's favorite Nolan film ever made.
You guys said soundtracks. Are we doing scores as well? Or
Yeah.
Okay, both.
Yeah, that's pretty much Nolan's thing,
I
right? He
gotcha.
doesn't use a lot of popular music in his movies. It is scores and soundtracks.
Stop.
No, you don't, because you don't have the written in front of dark. It's not even a tease.
It's still the Dark Knight.
Yeah, it's still the.
I know, but I feel like you would have had The Dark Knight if it was The Dark Knight compared to Dark Knight Rises being Dark Knight Rises.
Maybe
I feel
not.
like that was a giveaway. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe
And I
not.
ended up being right.
I'm lazy. I very much enjoy the Dark Knight Rises soundtrack.
I do too.
I love the kind of building back up to being Batman music when he is down at his lowest and slowly building back up. Literally a track called Rise on there. That's one of the best ones on the soundtrack.
Is that when he's trying to escape the pit?
Yeah.
Because that is the best.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be asking that, like, what is the highlight of the soundtrack? And I feel like that is the highlight with the chants in the background and everything
Yes.
of that Dark Knight Rises soundtrack. I love that
When
thing.
he takes the rope off and has to make the jump
To me,
without the rope.
that
and
is the
everything.
singular piece of music from that movie that makes you know that you're talking about that movie and that movie alone.
Yes, and very good. Regardless of what people think about the movie, and overall, I feel like the movie, not awful, but the least of the 3 for most people. The music from it, I feel like it's hard to deny being very good.
You know what's weird about The Dark Knight Rises is it's actually aged quite well. Like, I don't see people that loved it out of the gate that now hate it. It's more the opposite. There are people who didn't like it as much that have learned that it's got very sort of mature tones, mature storylines that are bigger than just Batman versus a villain. I mean, they are very much about a reflection of society and the future principles that will lead them.
I do feel like as much praise as The Dark Knight has gotten, that just the trilogy as a whole, everybody thinks about that one, but the trilogy as a whole has kind of been that way. And that very much includes The Dark Knight Rises, because for the vast majority of things, the second is the one that is better received. Empire Strikes Back, X2, whatever.
The second one's a crime drama. The third one is a reflection of socioeconomic debate. And there's people that weren't ready for that because they liked the crime drama aspect of The Dark Knight. But the third one is very much a question about governing principles. And I don't think a lot of people were prepared for that kind of exam going into that.
Yeah.
And for me, that was never the issue with the movie. For me, it was the third act of how do you tie in what is a perfect setup. I feel like Bane is perfectly set up in this movie.
Basically, the Bane death is the biggest point of, boy, that didn't necessarily work.
The Bane death didn't work.
Which I would agree with. Now, that is a quick 5 seconds that I can't believe they did that of the whole movie that I very much like, which is why I'm still highest overall on it as a movie. Like I said, there's some on here that would not be in my top 5, but it still is my favorite Batman of the 3.
Dark Knight Rises has an energy where it's like building, and then when you get that race against the clock at the end, and all these storylines are being wrapped up, it's like, well, that was disappointing, that's disappointing, that's disappointing, that's disappointing. Oh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is Robin. That's kind of in the movie's over. And it feels just so disappointing to end on that note, which is why I would never be against hearing there's a 4th one of these coming out, because it has a chance to really put a much nicer, complete package around this.
I would not be
closing
against
of this
it,
story.
because I know Jonathan Nolan has come out and said, I'm all in. I don't know that Christopher would ever do it, but
Why would he?
I would not be against it. But it's kind of the same thing with Logan. The minute Logan ends, that was a great send-off. Thank you, Hugh Jackman. Bye. And move on. And obviously we have moved past that now. So, you could move past, now obviously it would not be done the same way, but you could move past it and continue to do something. I do feel like if you did something, you would have to include Joseph Gordon-Levitt of some sort. And I feel like that may be something that would not be included if they move forward, but who knows?
I didn't like the little reveal at the end where he reveals that his name is actually Robin.
See,
I thought that was real dumb.
See, I feel like he kind of had been playing a Robin role throughout the movie, and then it's like, oh, that's cute. He actually is Robin, and then you move on. Now, would I have liked to have seen more? Sure, I would have liked to have seen more past that, other than just him swinging into the cave, and that's the end of the movie. But I kind of felt like he kind of was playing that secondary role the whole time.
To me, Joseph Gordon-Levitt in that movie sticks out like a sore thumb. I don't love his character being in that movie because it feels like he's playing a character. Where that trilogy, the secret sauce of it is everybody feels real to that world. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt takes me out of it with his performance, even more than, I'd say also like Anne Hathaway's Catwoman, Selena Kyle, also feels like she's playing it up. Like they're kind of hamming it up. Like, he's the local cop that's going to be, having a little attitude and a little bit of a heavy accent. And she's just like, they're coming in on a high note and they're not elevating the material. And I thought Tom Hardy's Bane did elevate the material until the character actually, fell on the screen. Okay. I'm very passionate about The Dark Knight Rises because I want to love it, and I don't.
My thing with Joseph Gordon-Levitt is I like the angle of him with Gary Oldman, and also him with, I can't remember the character's name, but Matthew Modine, kind of the higher up in the police force as well, constantly looking down on him like, you don't know what you're doing, I'm in charge here.
Taggart, I believe his name is.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt actually knows what's going on. Obviously, he's working with Batman, but it's the scene where it's like, get this hothead out of here, and then he goes and actually is doing the right thing, and they send everybody into the caves. They ultimately end up getting trapped. I kind of like the dynamic of the people he works with more so than strictly just him and everything that he does.
Yeah,
but I know I'm in the minority on this. So.
Yeah, and it's not. That's just that's why art is subjective.
But I like the music.
Tyler, if we were doing a lunch list of the 3 best Nolan Batman movies, what would be your order?
So right off the bat, I know I'm going to break some hearts. I think Dark Knight Rises is actually the weakest out of the trilogy.
I don't think you're breaking hearts.
I think that's the popular opinion.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then probably second Dark Knight for me, and then Batman Begins at
that's what
number
Tim's
1.
list is.
That is my list.
I really like Batman Begins.
I do think the majority would be Dark Knight, Batman Begins, Dark
I think
Knight
that
Rises.
would probably be the common take.
I think every one of those movies is aged really, really well.
I agree.
But I'm leaving the door open for a 4th one. Let's back up the Brinks truck, Warner Brothers, and get Christopher Nolan back on board.
With Robert Downey Jr., who Christopher Nolan led to an Oscar. Sorry.
Guess what you
If we're
call
bringing
it?
him back, might as well bring him for Batman. He wasn't even there, but let's bring him in.
You know what you call it? Dark Knight Returns. That's what you call it.
Yeah.
All this is so close.
I know it's already.
Yeah.
Already a source material that was adapted basically into Batman v Superman, and I get that, but that's what.
No,
you have to
I'm
call
with
it.
you. That you make it just because that title is open now.
Can you imagine if that had come out at Comic-Con? Like Nolan walks out on screen, or walks out on stage, and then behind him it says The Dark Knight Returns. Can you imagine? And then Marvel has to go second, and it's like, oh my gosh, comic book fans are just getting everything they want. Okay, let's move on to number 4.
Said DC was a disappointment. All right. But it had nothing to do with Batman.
The sad thing is I've always been a bigger DC than Marvel fan, and I can't disagree.
Same.
DC's just been in a slump.
Same.
Is what it is.
But I'm rooting harder for it than I am Marvel. Marvel,
I'm just rooting very hard for the Batman universe.
Yep.
Somewhat Joker, and DC you can.
I do love that we're going into the Penguin where you're not like wanting it to fail, you're wanting it to be great. So that's going to create some great discussion in our television reviews. Number 4 is Tenet. Now, there's no way this would sniff top 5 Nolan films for you on a regular list. Am I right?
No. I was very excited for it, which made me that much more disappointed in it.
Yeah.
And I think there's still pieces to it.
Oh, sure.
It's just, and the music is very much one of those pieces. The final battle, I thought was choreographed very well. It just doesn't make any sense from like a story standpoint. I thought the music was done very well. It just doesn't make any sense from a story standpoint. If the story ain't there, then you don't know what's going on in half of it.
There's only, if I was to do a whole weekend dedicated to Christopher Nolan rewatches, there's only 2 movies that I would dread watching. One is Tenet. Doesn't work for me in a lot of different ways.
Dunkirk.
No.
I haven't seen Memento yet, so
Memento would be the other one. That's not going to
make the list because
I really like Memento.
Everyone loves Memento. Don't get me wrong. Everybody loves it.
I have not seen it yet. I don't know why. I just have not watched it
yet. I hate watching Memento. I hate watching halfway through. I hate watching. I hate the acting. I hate the clothes. I hate how like 2002 it feels and everything. It
does feel very 2002. You're not wrong about that.
The suits. I hate the voices. I hate everything about Memento. Really, I'm not a big fan of tattoos. So
there's a lot of those in that movie.
I know. I'm not huge on tattoos, and there's a lot of tattooing going on. So anyway, Memento would be the other one. But Tenet.
I thought the music went with the, and I don't have a specific scene necessarily. I thought the music went. You had to very much choreograph this movie in a certain way, and a lot of it has to be done through CGI because there's a lot of backwards and forwards going at the same time. But I thought the choreography of the movie was good. Fight scenes, the time shifting and all that was done very well just from that standpoint, and the music went very well with that. You just finished watching it and said, that scene was cool, but I have no idea what just happened in it. So it completely diminished the, the dire circumstances they were in because I don't know what the heck just happened and who actually ended up, who's on the right side of time and who's actually the good person here, and it's all out of whack.
Yeah,
so I never saw Tenet, so your explanation was just very
My explanation's
confusing.
about how the movie is, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
And here's the thing. It also came out at a time when it was like Christopher Nolan was trying to help lead the charge of we have got to get back to theaters after COVID. And it was not the first movie I saw. New Mutants was the first movie, but I want to say this was the second movie I saw in theaters because it came out pretty quickly after theaters kind of reopened. I want to say like that August, September time of 2020.
Wasn't it still in the weird release schedule of you can watch it like same day on streaming as you can in theaters?
Did.
Correct. So that was a huge fight between, Warner Brothers and Christopher Nolan.
Oh, okay.
And I think the person that ended up winning in that was Nolan. I don't think it was a day and date release.
Gotcha.
But it created so much pain between the two of that difference of philosophy because Nolan, in his heart, and I believe every fiber of it, and that's why I champion him the way I do, he is trying to do everything he can do to save the theatrical going experience. And he wants his films only presented in that. Netflix reached out to him and said, we will give you a blank check to come produce films for us. And we'll even try to work in some theatrical distributions. Like, we'll give you a little bit of that, too. And he said, you're killing cinema, get the hell away from me. And he went to another studio that would promise to give him the rollout he deserved. And that made nearly $1 billion, won the best picture, won the 2 leading categories for male actors, and won him best director. Because he stuck to his guns. And Warner Brothers so badly wants to repair that relationship because it's sort of a new regime that's come in. But it's a very, very personal thing for him that they did not give Tenet. They did not trust his vision for what that should look like in its rollout. And because he had to fight for it, it broke his heart into 1,000 pieces. And he said, I'm never going to be able to work with these people again. And that's exactly what occurred. I'm sorry that I interjected with that much history, but
no, you're good. I understand
tense.
now.
I mean, it was a whole thing, and it came out September 3rd in the United States of 2020. So it was like right at that time when things were just kind of getting back going. It made $365 million, but his movies are expensive to produce, so that ultimately not really good. and he's had plenty of massive
And
hits.
when did it drop on HBO Max? At the time, it was HBO Max. They hadn't shifted to just Max.
Steven says it was only a week or two difference.
It was not the same day because
It was not the same.
they didn't start that till 2021. They had like a whole 2021 thing. Home media December, so it had September, October,
Okay,
November,
that's-
December.
Home media. That means the physical releases.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
HBO Max wasn't until May 1st, 2021.
Okay. Okay.
It had a strict theater
Right.
release. It was not super long, like a movie like Oppenheimer or the Batman movies or whatever would have had, but you had to go see it in theaters in the first.
That's got to be a
months.
weird thing for Nolan, right? He spent his whole career working for this company. He's earned them tremendous amount of acclaim. He's one of the only directors who can get people in seats because he's attached to a project, and they don't trust his vision on what it should look like, and they try to kneecap him, probably behind his back a little bit, and he's having to sell this film of why you should go see it while he's got knives in his back. And because of that, he had to go somewhere else, and Universal ponied up. And the thing is, they also gave him the flexibility to basically go elsewhere whenever he chose. Like, they didn't want to, that was part of his thing. He wanted flexibility of not being locked into a deal. So who knows who he'll be producing his next film for? Maybe he is happy with Universal and wants to re-up with them. And
Who owns Bond? What studio owns
well,
Bond?
Bond is owned by the Broccoli's.
I didn't know there's like another distribution or something with it.
Yeah, I don't know. Did Amazon ever end up buying the rights to, like Amazon, MGM, end up buying the rights to Bond? I don't know how that all went.
MGM, yeah, that's just done it, right?
It was MGM, yeah.
Yeah, I do think
But his
Amazon owns
dreams to do a Bond movie, and why in the world the Broccoli's don't want Christopher Nolan to helm a Bond movie for them? Because he wants control, and they want control. And when creative control's up for grabs, it's a cutthroat thing in Hollywood. So
Now, Tenet, I think for the time it came out, did very well. Strictly based on the nobody's going to theaters.
Correct.
COVID has completely wiped everything out. It was only like the second or third movie release. It was the fifth highest grossing movie of that year. The top three were all Asian movies, China and Japan, where it's different. And then Bad Boys for Life that came out in January of that year, so before all of that started. And then Tenet was by far fifth, and everything else was really low. So overall, for what it was, it still did good.
Yeah.
For what you typically expect from A, a Nolan film, and B, a movie that cost $200 million to make, then it didn't necessarily do as good.
yeah, and Hunter's in the chat. Do y'all think if given the opportunity, Chris Nolan would do a James Bond or Star Wars movie? Both said he wants to do those, projects. It comes down to control, right? I'm going to use an analogy that I've used probably a couple times, maybe not here on the Meltdown, but in passing. Alabama football
Roll Tide.
made the decision of, in order for us to reach the heights we want to reach, we've got to give Nick Saban power and control to get it right.
Yep.
Nick Saban's got a track record, and when we bring him in, he's going to be the captain of this ship. Warner Brothers made the mistake of discounting what Nolan brought to the table. Universal said, you can be the captain of this ship, come in, make a hit for us. And if you look at Oppenheimer on paper, there's no way that should be a $1 billion film.
It's a biopic about a nuclear physicist, and
Right.
it has mass appeal.
It's over 3 hours long, right?
Yes.
Isn't Oppenheimer over 3 hours long?
Yes,
so.
as someone who saw it multiple times, yes, it is.
Oppenheimer should have never worked. Now, I know that part of that was, it was the Barbenheimer thing. Don't forget, Warner Brothers did that to cut the knees out from Nolan again and said, we're not budging. We're going to release Barbie the same week as Oppenheimer. And what's that going to do to you as you now go off to greener pastures? They basically sent Nolan a cease and desist.
Made them both wildly successful.
And guess what? It backfired. And say backfired, everybody win, but it backfired in sending the message. The new regime comes in and goes, this is out of our control now. We're stuck to this date. Oppenheimer's not moving. And it created a phenomenon that a lot of people didn't realize was built out of resentment, not out of distinct marketing. They lucked into the fact that it was a massive hit, both of these, by benefiting each other and creating this craze. But it was meant in spite to hurt Nolan in putting Barbie where they put
and
it.
instead, it only hurt Mission Impossible.
And instead, it only hurt Mission Impossible, which ironically is what I'm getting back to. Tom Cruise is the one that championed Tenet the most by saying this is what's going to get people back to theaters. And, he went and saw it. And Tom Cruise likes to do this thing where he puts his stamp of approval on something long before it comes out. So that way it can be like, cinema's back.
Yep.
And he misses more often than he hits. Tenet, The Flash. Okay. These weren't earth-shattering movies that Tom Cruise said they would be. So anytime Tom Cruise comes out,
he gave his stamp of approval to The Flash?
he requested that they bring him a copy to screen in his private home Warner Brothers brought a copy of The Flash over with a courier. They showed him the movie. The courier then removed any evidence that The Flash had even been there and then left, and Tom Cruise reached out to the director, Muschietti.
Andy Muschietti, I
Andy
think.
Muschietti, and said, like, you've created a masterpiece. And it got this viral ball rolling. And the problem is they started screening it for the common folk like a month and a half before they started to release it to the people to build buzz because they thought they had this massive hit on their hands.
Well, Zaslav said it was like the greatest movie ever made, pretty much.
They overhyped it, and it hurt their credibility. And James Gunn, unfortunately, I'm in his camp, but he's part of the reason why the credibility for him is low right now, because he championed The Flash 2 as being this superhero epic. But anyway, there's so much history, recent history, with how the theatrical exhibition industry is trending, with Christopher Nolan being the one that is pushing the scales in one direction or the other. And Tom Cruise is trying to jump on there as well. Okay, Tenet at number 4 with the music. Where are we going with number 3, John?
I did not hate Tenet, but of a director whose filmography is so impressive, it still is very much near the bottom. But I don't know that I give anything I've seen of his a thumbs down. All right, number 3.
Tenet had Travis Scott on the soundtrack. Little fun fact. Number 3, Oppenheimer. Look at that, Tim. Oppenheimer made one of John's lists.
Well, it's about damn time. But
This is not my top 5 Nolan movies.
me and John agree on this, though, I think. And I said this walking out of the film for the very first time, before then walking in and watching it 5 more times, sometimes back to back, which is 6 hours of Oppenheimer. Okay.
Hard pass.
This movie
a lot
does
of fun,
not
John.
work on the level it works on without the music. It should be higher just based on the importance of the music in telling the story, because the emotional beats of the music tell the emotional beats of the story better than any movie I've ever seen before.
However, he is where he is in doing that with whatever person is doing the music for his films because of number 1 and number 2. I think that he has evolved to where he can do that in movies. I do think Batman helped that in general. I think Oppenheimer's number 2 helped that in general.
Oppenheimer's the closest thing I've seen to a non-lyrical music that exists. A non-lyrical musical that exists. Like, because it is the whole time you're accompanied by music the entire time throughout the story of this. Like, even distinct conversational pieces are all accompanied by music in this movie.
The only bit of silence I can remember in that movie, or moment where there isn't music, is when the bomb goes off.
And that's very purposeful, right? And there's a lot of people that hate that choice. Oh, I wanted to hear a loud explosion or whatever, and I thought it was brilliant.
Is there music while Robert Downey Jr. is on trial?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I know pretty much every time Cillian Murphy's on screen, there's music.
You can literally listen to the soundtrack, and it goes through, as you're listening to the soundtrack, the entire movie. Like, you know where they are in the movie based on, like, every single thing is accompanied by music in this.
I do like the music in this. It did help. It's probably what it probably made it higher on my list than it would have been without it. Because I was just very, I would say average. I mean, 3.5 out of 5. That's not really average, but like for him, it's not going to make my top 5 at all.
Can I ask you a friendship question? Do you ever get less enthused by a movie because of how overly enthused I am? And you can be honest.
You get overly enthused before movies that make me not as excited about them because I just know your style a lot of times.
Yeah, like
you could have just said yes.
No, after the fact is different. Like going into a movie like Late Night with the Devil, I know I don't care about that movie already, and all of y'all losing your mind about it makes me hate it that much more before I ever see it. But I wouldn't say that about like Oppenheimer necessarily. Like I gave my review of Oppenheimer, I saw it opening weekend, and I haven't changed my opinion on it since. I haven't cared to watch it since.
Joker 2, is it going to be that way? Because for Joker, no one was higher on Joker in your life than me for 2 years before the movie came out.
I mean, I very, very much like Joker, so that didn't like come out of it being like, oh, Tim like this, so I hate it. Joker 2, I was not sold in the first trailer. I was in the second trailer, so we'll see.
I'm just wondering.
I mean,
because I feel like the more enthused I am, the more annoyed you are.
Usually only with horror.
Okay.
because I just don't like horror anyway. And so the more you talk about it, my wife talks about it, and then Tyler starts talking about it. That's like the third strike, and I'm out at that point.
Okay.
Because I already have to hear it enough from you and my wife.
Appreciate your honesty. That's all I'm looking for.
But Oppenheimer's fine. I don't have like crazy negatives with it. The biggest being it's 3 hours long. It's 180 exactly, according to Wikipedia. So it's right at 3 hours. It could have been a great 220, but
I have not watched Oppenheimer once on streaming
I haven't either.
or at home because it's such a perfect theatrical experience for me. I wish there was some universe where I could foresee a re-release of this again, but they've already re-released it like 4 times throughout its theatrical run, it feels like, to where
before Nolan does something else, they just do
I would love it.
like a week of like,
it'd have to be Universal.
here's Oppenheimer, here's, whatever, I don't know. Honestly, the thing I probably liked the most about it, and music very much fits into this. Have you ever seen the movie The Tree of Life?
No,
That was
but I've heard you talk about it. Yeah,
it's a very
Brad
good
Pitt in
movie. Yeah. Sean Penn. It's got a good cast in it, and it's a very weird movie. Kind of one of those you watch and say, "Oh, this is kind of up John's alley." But there's a lot of scenes within it randomly cutting while they're having bigger life discussions of like the universe exploding and then like atoms colliding into each other and just different things of the greater picture of life happening while they're talking that it flashes to with music. And I feel like Oppenheimer did a lot of that of like, we're going to show fire, we're going to show explosions of like, clearly you're building a bomb. We're kind of building what's happening in their brains while they're talking about this. What's the tension between, the different political aspects of this and all of that very much fit with the music, I thought, and did kind of the same thing that movie did. And that's part of what I liked about The Tree of Life, and that's part of what I liked about Oppenheimer. But that all goes with music as well.
let's head to number 2 on Luntz's list. I'm a big fan of collecting Mondo records, so I like to collect vinyl, and Mondo put out an exclusive Oppenheimer soundtrack that was like this fiery orange-red vinyl, and, I've wanted to get it for a long time, but I also...
That is reselling for...
Is it reselling?
I just assumed because you said Mondo and, like, all of their stuff I just see on secondhand markets for more than it originally retailed for.
Yeah, I just don't know how much the Oppenheimer soundtrack is in demand, but I've got to pick that up at some point. I've almost pulled the trigger a couple times, but it's such a perfect theatrical experience for me. I almost just want to just accept that it was perfect and move on with my life instead of keep trying to revisiting it. Okay, number 2, Inception.
One sound constantly throughout the movie, but you know exactly what it is. It's very noticeable when you hear it, and very much helped the movie out as they went from dream to dream. Very much helped the movie out. He does a good job with a lot of his movies, and Batman's this way, Oppenheimer's this way, Inception's this way, Tenet's, they're all this way, of kind of trying to get from point A to point B. And it's not hurried. It's done in a good way, but in Inception, like when they're putting the team together, let's say, so Leo gets Ellen Page to come help, and then obviously he has Joseph Gordon-Levitt with him. But then it's like, let's build the rest of our team.
Yeah,
and that's when he goes and gets Tom Hardy. He gets the dude that does the sleep serum. I can't remember what his name is. He kind of builds the rest of that team up, and it's kind of hurried but done very well. But the music is what kind of moves the story along, and kind of like when they're going in to test the people, like test the serums, and all those people are asleep in the basement or whatever, like there's music to kind of help lead into that. There's music to help as they're kind of explaining to Ellen Page's character of like what we're doing. Here's what it's like when you're sleeping. Here's how we wake you up. We, give you the kick and all that. That there's kind of music to never make it feel like it drags. Whatever's happening on screen, the music never makes it feel like it drags. And I'd say Batman did a lot of that in Dark Knight Rises as well, as they tried to move from piece of the story to the next piece of the story, from having Batman completely, away from America and then coming back and shifting side, back and forth and everything. The music did a good job of that. And I thought it did a good job of that in Inception as well.
Inception. Perfect ending?
Yes. Very much depending on what you want to project on it.
Well, my question that I was going to follow that up with is, what do you project on the ending of Inception? Are you willing to share that with us now? Because this could go 45 minutes. I don't want it to. I just want you to basically tell me in a short way exactly the way you interpret the ending of Inception, because it has created debate ever since it came out in theaters of what the ending actually means for the lead character.
So at first, the little jiggle of the top made me say, oh, okay, it's about to fall. And that was just in my first viewing.
Cuts at the perfect time.
Ever since then, I've thought he is still in a dream.
Cuts at the perfect time.
I mean, it does obviously that on purpose to where it's spinning.
Gosh, I love it.
Perfectly fine, and then it's just a little like that, which doesn't mean it's going to fall necessarily, because it could do that wobble a little bit, but just the perfect little wobble to where you're not 100% sure. He doesn't look at it. He runs out to his kids, and I'm just expecting him to run out to his kids and like, not that they ever showed this in the movie because you never see his kids' faces because he only knows what they look like from behind. But I firmly expect now that he's still in a dream, and when he goes to turn his kids around, there's no face on him. Like, for some reason, that's what I expect, and that's getting into very horror territory at that point. But he doesn't.
That was the image I got too.
I mean, that's what I expect him to do. Was like,
so good.
Mom, hey, kid, and then they're like, Dad, and then there's just nothing there. Anyway, I think
if you want to
he's still in
talk
the dream.
about strongest movie endings of the past 20 years, how do you not have Inception as a part of that discussion? And the interpretations behind it, everyone has their different interpretations. It depends on whether I think you're an optimist or a pessimist of how you interpret it. But the most important editing job that's been done in the history of a Nolan film is at the end of Inception. And man, it sticks with you. And it immediately makes you want to go like, oh man, I got to go back and look for more clues and watch it again. And it's a very good movie. Very good movie. Okay. Number one on Luntz's list will, I think I
spoiled it at the beginning.
What did you say?
Interstellar.
Oh, you said it would be seventh. But yes, we changed it around. Interstellar, I think, will clearly be number one on everything Nolan of all time for John Lunsford. Interstellar would not be a top 5 favorite Nolan film for me. Mainly because there are 3 Batman movies, and then we'll have to move on from there. I don't think Dark Knight Rises will be top 5 for me, actually. But anyway.
My top 5 would probably be Interstellar, Inception, Dark Knight Rises. Probably round out Batman. Batman Begins and Dark Knight.
So I would be Batman Begins, Dark Knight. I'd probably third go with Insomnia, which is a movie I absolutely adore. No. I forgot about Oppenheimer. How did I forget about Oppenheimer?
I was like, I figured Oppenheimer would be number one.
Batman Begins, number 1. Oppenheimer, number 2. Dark Knight, number 3. I would have Insomnia, number 4. And number 5 for me would probably be The Prestige. Probably. So
The Prestige would probably be the one that just missed for me.
Interstellar. You love this movie. Tell me why the music works so well to tell this story.
So he takes a lot from 2001, which I've raved about plenty on this, that the music in 2001 is very, very good.
And to make you very happy, they say that is a major influence on the future of the Fantastic Four.
Yes, because I firmly believe it will be very much like that, just present day. Now, I think that is a movie that has held up better than any other movie on the planet because it was done in the 60s, and it's just phenomenal looking even in 2024. But he very much took inspiration from that. He even remastered 2001 for its 50th anniversary. Is that what 2018 would have been? 50th anniversary?
Yes.
I went to go see it in 70 millimeter in New York. It just happened that weekend that it released. I just happened to be on vacation in New York, and so I went to go see it. The remaster that Nolan did, and it was really, really good. This movie, I don't think really works without the music in it. A lot of organ in it that really works. Once again, very similar to 2001. It's just a grand space movie. I wouldn't consider it like a space opera like what you consider Star Wars or something like that, but it is very grand in scope. And as you travel space, something that is very quiet, as Alien says, in space no one can hear you scream, but you can at least hear the music in the movie. And
I was going to say, did the alien ever say that? Because I'm just kidding.
Or as in the new trailer, in space no one can hear you, alien. The music works and it plays well, and I think the traveling of space, the way 2001 does it, he obviously pulls a lot from that, and it's my number one movie for him because 2001 is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I like space movies a lot more than you do.
You do. I am not huge on the space science fiction movies. There are some elements of those that I do like. There are some outliers. People will be like, how are you a Star Wars fan? You don't like space movies? Because I think, the original Star Wars trilogy gave me all the space action I needed. And a lot of it didn't really even, necessarily occur in space. A lot of it occurred on these different planets and with all these different characters. The character development was so strong. But I am looking very forward to Alien Romulus, which comes out in just a couple of weeks. Very excited about that, and we will be having all kinds of coverage with that as our schedule has been shifted around.
Thank God.
Is the next round anniversary party.
Josh Kelly is referencing it in the chat right now. Here's your answer, Josh.
No, we will not be missing the kickoff party. We will be there, and then Tim and Tyler can go have fun. The next day I will be passing.
So we are going to, and I've worked this out with El Presidente here, we are going to be there fully at the kickoff party, the anniversary party, whatever you want to call it. And we cannot wait to meet with everybody. We cannot wait to talk about movies. We can't wait to just nerd out on all kinds of stuff at the kickoff party. But the next day, I've got an excused absence scheduled for Tyler and I to go see Alien Romulus before we do our Friday edition of the Meltdown. It's going to be a busy end of the week, but I think, Tyler, that it's going to be a plan that works to perfection.
Oh, I can't wait. That'll be so great. Because I was looking at every theater within like 30 and 40 miles of here to see, is there a showing of Alien Romulus that we could make after the kickoff party?
Darn.
And almost like John planned it to perfection.
Right.
There's not, but thank you, Reed, best boss ever, giving us some time to go see Alien during work.
Make the kickoff party the 15th. Make the kickoff party the 15th.
It is very much, like part of our jobs up here in all of Disrupt Media to watch all the games from the weekend, being able to commentate on those. And those guys have to watch every single bit of game footage they can to be able to cover the SEC and college football and professional football and all of those different sports. We have to be able to see the films to be able to have commentary on them for the next day and to give you our spoiler reviews so you can watch them at your leisure. And so we have the ability to go see Alien Romulus on that Friday before the show, and everything should continue as normal on a content schedule. So we're very excited about that for sure. If you're looking for a perfect way to get all of your dental checkups where you need them, where you're on that routine, where you're not putting off those cleanings, we talked about COVID era a lot here. A lot of people fell off the wagon during the COVID era of making sure that they were going to the dentist regularly. Make sure that you visit with 2 individuals that I trust the most when it comes to my dental health care. That is Dr. Jeff and Dr. Brian over on Grants Mill Road at Alabama Dental Associates. Extremely flexible with their office hours. They're going to make sure they get you in on your schedule. If you work that 9 to 5 and you're like, look, there's just never a good time. I used to go to the dentist all the time and take off, but now work is demanding so much more of me. They will make time for you there with their nighttime hours. They've got Friday hours. They've got Saturday hours as well. And they are going to make sure that there's no excuses as to why you can't get in one of their chairs there at Alabama Dental Associates. If you need to find the absolute best dentists in town, then I have found the solution for you. Happy to share it. Make sure you go visit that perfect dental team and try Alabama Dental Associates for yourself. Dr. Brian was talking smack last night about coming back to the poker club and giving John another whooping. And it appears that he's going to try to do that again this upcoming week. They're accepting new patients now, and you can feel at ease about all of your upcoming dental procedures with Alabama Dental Associates. For more information or to make an appointment, call them 205-956-8977 or visit alabamadental.com, where they look forward to seeing you. Okay. I am going to do my random picker here to go with our order of our draft coming up. And this is going to be a superhero cinema draft. Heroes, villains, side characters, doesn't matter. As long as they're a part of superhero cinema and they have been in a theatrically released film, then they are eligible for this list. I think we've sort of set the ground rules for how this is going to work. I don't think there's any sort of questions. Tyler, I know, had some questions that maybe I haven't talked with you about, John, about, how should we, pick? Should it be more on the longevity of these characters? Should it be more on how comic accurate they are? It should be whatever you value, whatever you think is a perfect casting choice in superhero cinema. That should be what you go with. And then we'll make our cases to the audience to see which order they decide that we ended up winning in. So I am going to put down these 3 fingers and see exactly what the order will be. I am first, you are second, Tyler is third. That is the way that the draft order will go. Now,
Hopefully that works out for me like it did for John last week.
the luxury of going third, I would have, if I could have chosen, I would have loved to have gone third. The luxury of third is you get the first pick of the second round. So you get to make back-to-back picks, which is a huge heavy hitter sequence here in this draft. But I am
hoping that my first pick isn't gone, but
we will see.
I'll get one of my top 3 at least. Yeah, if camera 1 can be tighter on the list, that might be a lot easier for everybody to read.
Does everybody in the chat know how this is going to work? I don't think there will be a lot of arguments, but we will see. We will see.
Yeah, it's close enough.
That'll work.
All right.
Especially since the cameras seem to have a mind of their own today.
I want to make it clear yet again, this is not which team's the strongest due to their superpowers. It is who is most perfectly cast in their roles. And for me, there's an obvious number 1. And I'm going to have to take them off the board because this is perfect casting. And if you don't want to take my word for it, take the word of the birthday boy. Christopher Nolan had this to say, that this is, quote, one of the most consequential casting decisions that's ever been made in the history of film. Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man is number 1 for me off the board. And it is the clear number 1. And if anybody thought I should have gone another route, I would love to hear that argument. But Robert Downey Jr., there's a reason why they just brought him back. There's a reason why he is in the status that he's in to earn the amount of money that he's earning to come back into this universe. And it's because of his role being cast as Iron Man, which at the time was looked at as a huge risk. And guess what? It worked out to billions and billions of dollars for all parties involved, which is why Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man is number 1. John has decided to go with Heath Ledger's Joker. And I would love to hear just reasoning why you went with this choice at the number 2 spot.
When you said Nolan, I was like, oh, you're going to take that. I only took it only because you didn't take that. I had a couple that I wanted to go with first, but I thought, hey, we just talked Batman the whole time. Why not go with Heath Ledger? Won an Oscar for it.
Along with Joaquin Phoenix as well for the same role.
Joaquin Phoenix as well. But The Dark Knight is widely considered the greatest comic book movie of all time by a lot of people, the greatest movie of all time by some people. Typically, people don't go to quite as many movies, but it is not my favorite. This is not my list. I honestly probably preferred Joaquin Phoenix, but I know Heath Ledger is one that people love that performance. It still works very much to this day, and if you're going to go with a list that you have to win, I feel like Heath Ledger's Joker would be at the top of a lot of people's list.
Okay, Tyler, what is your? Let's start off with that first pick of the that you're going to make here at the end of the first round.
I was shocked that you guys didn't pick him up, but we're going to go with a guy who has been playing one particular character for over 20 years at this point, and will continue to do so until he's 90. It's Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
Now, there's going to be some debate that comes from this.
Yeah,
right?
He's not a comic accurate Logan. That's fair. If you wanted a comic accurate Logan,
Got a little taste of that in Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't think anybody liked it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Danny DeVito would be like a closer comic accurate casting for Wolverine than Hugh Jackman is, but Hugh Jackman transformed the character into his own, and now when they make an animated series, or if you even just think of Wolverine and picture him in your head, you're picturing Hugh Jackman. He is that character, and no one else will play him. Hugh Jackman will play Wolverine until he's 90. I fully believe it.
For the jury of the audience watching at home, I just want to point out that the most disappointing thing about Deadpool and Wolverine for Tyler, based on his review, was that of the interpretation of Wolverine in that movie. Right?
Yeah, you're not wrong.
And that is your first pick. Who are you going with in round number 2?
I am going with, in round number 2, another character that you just truly couldn't see being played by anyone else was in that movie with Hugh Jackman. It's Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Deadpool is Ryan Reynolds' humor. And, I mean, honestly, give me a name that you could have play Deadpool and it be even remotely believable with that humor just being uniquely Ryan Reynolds.
So the person that is the absolute lowest of the three of us on Deadpool and Wolverine.
Pick Deadpool and Wolverine.
Pick Deadpool and Wolverine, and I respect the choices, Tyler. I do. There's no argument that I can make really against your choices. I just am happy to see you finally sort of join us in that sort of excitement for these characters being on the big screen together.
I mean, I did rewatch Deadpool 1 last night.
Oh, there you go. He's on a kick. He's on a kick. All right.
It's a
John,
great movie.
there's a lot of opportunity here in round number 2 for you to go a lot of different directions, and you're going to have to make that pick before I then get a double pick. Yeah, I'm going to see if you take mine off the board here.
This is the worst place to be. I can't pick back.
Professor X,
Oh yeah, that's a
played by Patrick Stewart.
good pick. I can't say anything against this one.
So
He was on my list as well.
I feel like this is maybe one of the closest to not only incredible performance, but also comic accurate in look and acting and everything. Already had the good cue ball look and just fit naturally into the role. Did really well in all of his performances. I know there are 2 Professor X's, so I guess the other one is still available for grabs, if that's possible. Is that possible? So, like, you can pick 2
absolutely,
people there.
absolutely.
So I know James McAvoy's still out there, but I feel like Patrick Stewart is very much who even James McAvoy had to try to be at a younger age, that he is the guy.
So I cannot believe that I have lucked into the opportunity to take who would be my top 3 picks without any sort of issue here, because neither one of you took anybody off my board of who I want for my first 3 picks. If I had had picks 1, 2, and 3, these would have been the 3 picks that I made. Are you ready for this one? It is obvious to me, and I hope it is to the audience as well, and I hope you don't use recency bias against me, but hear me out. Superman, played by Christopher Reeve, is the absolute perfect casting, and let me tell you why exactly. Christopher Reeve just happened to be a comic book accurate Superman. Both of those individuals, Superman and Christopher Reeve, 6'3", perfectly. The blue eyes, the suit, the fact that they haven't gotten Superman right since you were a wee little tot or you didn't even exist should tell you everything you need to know about the perfection that is Christopher Reeve Superman. Let me tell you how perfect Christopher Reeve Superman was. They thought it was so perfect that they brought Brandon Routh in to play Superman because he looked like Christopher Reeve. They weren't even trying to find somebody who looked like Superman. They were trying to find somebody who looked like Christopher Reeve because he was the perfect casting choice for Superman. Now, half of his movies were really strong, half of his movies weren't. But Superman, played by Christopher Reeve, was always a strong performance. And I hope that even though Superman hasn't been necessarily as relevant over the years as some of these other characters, there's a reason for that. It's because they haven't been able to match the perfection that was Christopher Reeve as Superman. Now, I'm going to give you another perfect casting choice here. And hear me out, because I'm cooking. J. Jonah Jameson. J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. It just melted down my competition because it is perfect casting. Anytime he pops on screen, you are hearing the comic book character come to life. There is no better choice than J.K. Simmons for J. Jonah Jameson and that role. It was so good, they said, you know what? Let's try to steal some of that magic away and make him Commissioner Gordon.
He was next. He was next on my list.
Didn't work. Did not work as Commissioner Gordon because it's more about the pairing with the character and how perfect it was than it was about J.K. Simmons and what he brings to comic book history. Him as J. Jonah Jameson is still an active character. He's like an M, played by Judi Dench. in that they took him from one universe to the other, playing the same role, maybe with a different level of variance, because of how perfect the casting is. And they said this is the one thing that should be congruent through these two different types of Spider-Man universe. J. Jonah Jameson, perfectly cast. Yes, is he a superhero? He's not. Is he a supervillain? He's not. But he's perfectly cast for this role. J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. These would have been, no lie, my first 3 picks across the board, and I'm so happy to have achieved them all here in front of the jury in the chat. We now move on to John, who's taking his 3rd overall pick and the first of the 3rd round for him.
So I just listed out my top picks that I wanted to make. My number 1 pick was Joker, Heath Ledger. My number 2 pick was Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. My number 3 pick was Logan, played by Hugh Jackman. My number 4 pick was Superman, Christopher Reeves. My number 5 pick was J. Jonah Jameson, J.K. Simmons. So they have all been taken now. So let me think about it for a second.
Are you throwing in the towel? Are
No.
you waving the white flag?
I have a whole list. I'm just
Okay,
trying to see
okay.
based on what has been picked. This is why going second sucks, is I can't ever have back-to-back picks, so I can just have multiples every single time taken away from me.
You suck for taking away J.K. Simmons, Tim.
Sorry, I was surprised. I was actually surprised that he was still around. I thought in the second round he'd be taken up.
I thought about going for him with my second pick, but I also thought Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool would just get snatched up too quick. So
I think if you look in hindsight, you will realize that J.K. Simmons is actually the stronger choice than Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool.
You know, because we're competing against each other, I won't agree with you, but
but off air we'll talk.
I don't have
the only
anything
one
against
I didn't
it.
have of that list, at least so far. I mean, I had him eventually. So I have one. I gotta think about it for a second, because I'm all out of whack thanks to
You got him rattled, Tim.
those double picks. Now I'm just trying to see what's best. This maybe it's not as popular a pick, but I think they were perfectly cast. I think they played the role incredibly well. They have been the role in multiple movies.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with it. Screw it.
Okay.
Oh.
This is a fantastic choice, and it was definitely on my short list of things I wanted to go.
John.
Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin is a great choice.
All right, I gotta go back to my list real quick.
He was really good. Sorry. He was really good as the villain. Obviously came back in No Way Home. It was really good there, especially kind of playing a little Two-Face, trying to be, oh, no, I'm rehabilitated now. No, I'm not. I mean, perfect. That's what made the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man work more for me, more so than Tobey Maguire. Now, there's nothing against Tobey Maguire. I thought he was a good Spider-Man. But I thought Willem Dafoe was an incredible villain in that first one. And obviously his legacy continuing on with James Franco and the whole storyline of the whole trilogy for that. And then coming back in No Way Home was really good. And I didn't know if that would be as popular a pick with y'all or not, but
Yeah, it was.
Willem Dafoe.
Very, very, very good choice. And I'm glad
he
you took the
literally
time on
just
it.
uses the Green Goblin voice when he voice acts in anything now.
Because when you had to have that back and forth with yourself, like that shows good acting chops there, kind of normal voice, Green Goblin voice as he's looking in the mirror and everything. Really good. All right, now Tyler gets 2 to take some of mine away.
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah.
I don't get to pick again for 20 minutes. So.
I'm rattled. Okay. I'm gonna go.
Just to back up the confidence of Tyler and of John, I don't think anybody has missed yet, right? I think there are some missed opportunities of like, oh, you could have snatched somebody up, but I don't think anyone has missed with their picks and just a big whiff, like, oh, that's a controversial pick. I don't think that's happened yet.
All right. I'm gonna go with. Let's knock out Kelsey Grammer's Beast. I think that's absolutely fantastic casting for the X-Men franchise. And give me...
I think so.
I'll take it. Why not? I think it's ER, but I have no idea.
It is ER, by the way.
Okay.
You like normal grammar AR?
I believe so.
What's the normal grammatical way to spell grammar?
How do you spell grammar? Ah, shoot.
By the way, school starts back here soon.
Chris Hemsworth is Thor. He just looks like a Norse god. So
Chris Hemsworth as Thor, coming in that first pick of the 4th round for Tyler. Two very strong choices, but I can tell that Tyler has hopes and dreams that other people had been available at this point.
yeah, literally the 2 previous picks.
Yeah.
I like Kelsey Grammer as Beast, but he was not on my short list. Chris Hemsworth was on my short list. But once again, not necessarily a miss on either one of those. I'd say they're good. I have one that's off the beaten path that I want to save.
That may be.
I think
I'm right there
that
too.
has proved to be a bad choice.
See, J. Jonah Jameson was high on my list, but he's somebody I thought I could save because he wasn't a hero, so I
Same
wasn't
here.
thinking about it as much.
J. Jonah Jameson may have been taken in the 3rd round, but he's a first-round draft pick.
Easily.
He's a
I
first-round draft pick.
Oh man. I feel like this is kind of a safe pick, not necessarily a good pick, but one I just want to get off the board before anybody else takes it.
Who we got? Oh, that I'll be honest, he didn't make my list.
I don't see.
Josh Brolin is Thanos.
Oof. Oof.
It's not the best pick, but I feel like he was a good cast. I feel like his voice fit. I know it's a lot of CGI with him. I stand by it.
Okay.
All right, Tim, break everyone's heart.
I don't think I'm going to be breaking any hearts. I'm going with picks that I know don't aid me here in the short term of like things that have occurred recently, but in my opinion is perfection. And at number 4, I'm going with a character that has already been chosen in the Joker, but I'm going with Jack Nicholson, who does the absolute best portrayal of a Joker in cinematic history. I know there's a lot of Heath Ledger fans, for sure, and I respect that performance a lot. See what I did there? I did a John Lunsford respect. I gave it to Heath Ledger. He does fantastic in that role.
That means he hates it.
But if you look at the role of Jack Nicholson and what he did to get top billing in that Batman movie, he got top billing in that Batman movie. He not only did that, but he was able to sign some deal where he got paid for every Batman movie after that. Jack Nicholson eats up every scene he's in. They're iconic. Him in the museum with the paint running down where he's doing the laughter. It's something that has lasted the test of time. And if you remember the summer of 1989, everyone was wearing a Batman shirt. And part of that was because of the iconic casting and performance of Jack Nicholson as the Joker. Some people's favorite, including myself, and I think it was perfect.
I was 2 years old. I don't remember that.
It was perfect.
I
what
was negative
needed.
10. I definitely don't.
I was born that weekend, so I saw it with my own 2 eyes. Okay. Number 5. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a controversial pick because it is a little bit more of a deep cut. But when I tell you perfect casting is what matters to me more
Please
than anything,
don't take mine. I've got a couple deep
this
cuts.
is the answer. The answer is Jackie Earle Haley as Rorschach.
That's a good pick. I wasn't on my short list, but it's a good pick.
Perfect set of casting in Watchmen. Zack Snyder's Watchmen.
RORSCACH.
I don't think that's...
I don't know. I thought I had it for a second.
I can tell you. You ready? So it's RORSCHACH.
Oh,
Jackie Earle Haley as Rorschach is the entire narrative of that film.
he has an E
Yeah.
at the end of Earl. I think so. Does he not? We'll see.
Jackie Earle Haley is not going to be mentioned in, yeah, he does have an E at the end of Earl, is not going to be mentioned in almost any other list. But this is one where he deserves his flowers because Rorschach is a perfect performance, perfect voice, perfect everything about that. And when he has his mask taken off, everything is perfect. The flashbacks with his performance, it was a comeback tour for him for a hot minute because of how perfect that casting was, and he wasn't able to sustain it. But it was amazing. Ended up getting Freddy Krueger because of how well this was. Now, Robert Englund's obviously a perfect Freddy Krueger. Jackie Earle Haley, a perfect Rorschach.
He was low on my list, but I thought about that one. Thought about another person from that movie, too. I am going to go a little more off the beaten path like Watchmen. I think this is perfect casting. Movies were okay, but I thought this is perfect casting.
Okay.
These. Okay. Off the beaten path, yes, had multiple. Oh, yeah, Ron Perlman as Hellboy. He's towards the bottom of my list, but it's good casting.
I thought that was great casting. The movies were, the first one was a lot better than the second one. The
Doesn't show up till like a half hour into the first one, I think.
Huh?
Does he not? Doesn't he like not show up?
Because they had the whole thing where the Nazis
minutes?
are trying to like find the portal or do the portal and everything.
Yeah.
It's something that cannot be recast because it was so well done with him. They tried with David Harbour and it flopped. There's some new one coming out that I see the occasional trailer for, but I feel like it's going to flop.
It will.
Hellboy can't be done because Ron Perlman did it so well.
Why don't they go back to Ron Perlman?
I guess they think he's too old. I don't know if he had a falling out. I don't know, but
he's still acting, so I do wonder genuinely why they don't go back to Ron Perlman because
what's he been in recently? Because I haven't personally seen him in anything since
he was in
Sons
Pacific
of
Rim.
Anarchy ended.
It was on last night on TV.
he was in some movie here recently where I don't remember exactly what it was, but he definitely popped in there for a second. He may have been in the trailer.
He's done a lot of voice work. Has that deep voice. He was in Del Toro's Pinocchio. He's been in Transformers movies. He was in Don't Look Up. He was in Nightmare Alley.
Yep.
I mean, obviously he's done a bunch of stuff, but I think Hellboy. Steven, yes, he was in Pacific Rim. That was 2012. That movie came out. I went at midnight to see it, and I was the only person in the theater.
Dang.
If you like,
Sounds like
if you like kaiju
showing of not another church
movies, it's perfect. It's like if Tron and Godzilla had a baby, but he was in that one. Anyway, Ron Perlman Hellboy, I think it's very, very, very good.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to Tyler, who gets another double pick.
Alrighty. I'm going to take this one up because this casting choice actually affected the direction of the comic book character as well as the design. Wesley Snipes' Blade.
That was my next one.
Impressive
that it went this long without him being there, especially since he's top of mind right now.
Yeah, I was trying to save him as long as I could. Need to use him up though. Then I know who I'm gonna do. I am going to go with a character that when Marvel launched the Ultimate Universe and that line of comics, they actually designed the character based around this actor who ended up playing that character. It's Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury.
I guess what I'm most surprised about your picks is that you have Kelsey Grammer's Beast selected before you have these other picks selected.
Well, honestly, I was knocking Kelsey Grammer off the board because I thought John would have him. So trying to
not an X-Men guy.
Trying to be a spoiler.
Honestly, outside of Logan and then Patrick Stewart, not a lot of X-Men come top to mind to do in there. I mean, I thought there were some okay castings in there. Let's see. Trying to think what hasn't been taken. So Blade, that was actually my next one.
Davey says Plastic Man. Has he been in a live action yet? Live action film?
Who's Plastic Man? that one of those weird ones that would have been in Suicide Squad?
I
That got killed at the beginning.
probably. He stretches. He wears big shades.
There's one I really want to do, but yeah, I don't. He hadn't been in a movie. I don't think. I hate going back to the same well, but
Do what you got to do.
Oh, yeah. Alfred Molina is Doc Ock. It's a good pick. It's a good pick.
Whew, that makes me feel good because I was convinced I had to get past John to get to this next one. But I mean, it's a great choice, but I think mine is a little bit stronger here, and I'm going to tell you why.
okay.
I think you will agree with me.
Okay.
There's only one person that was perfect for a role that had to be both charming and intimidating and menacing, funny but also terrifying, and still is attached to this character to this day, and that is Tom Hiddleston playing Loki
Yeah. he's
here
also on
in
my list.
round number 6. Tom Hiddleston is Loki.
I mean, he's good.
He hasn't already been taken?
No, he's on my list, but he was down a few.
He should definitely be there at the number 6 spot.
He was probably going to be my next pick. Still debating.
I
to
think
go with.
Tom Hiddleston as Loki is a better casting choice than even Hemsworth as Thor. I think it's a stronger pairing to a character. I think Thor, you could have had you could have had one of Thor's brothers play the role like we've seen in all of these different tidbits throughout the MCU, and it would have probably worked. But you had to have Loki played by Tom Hiddleston. Okay, this is where we start getting into some really nitty-gritty territory because I have a couple of directions I could go here because I feel very strongly about my list right now. I don't have any regrets whatsoever in my list, and I want to make sure that I finish the list with that amount of strength. Obviously, Batman I'm very passionate about Batman, but I don't want to go back to that well too often.
Feel free.
I'm tempted.
What about Ewan McGregor as Black Mask? There you go.
So, I am going to go with this is tough because this could make or break, a lot of momentum. Don't want to lose it here.
Johnny Depp for Jack Sparrow does not count, Hunter.
That is correct.
That is correct.
Superhero cinema only. Oh. Okay. Here we go. The heart and soul of the Dark Knight trilogy is Michael Caine as Alfred, and that's who I'm going with here in this role. Michael Caine
me
as
too.
Alfred is perfection. His monologues have to work in those movies in order to feel the connection to the heart and soul of the trilogy. He is a major part of all of these movies that we've talked about, including The Dark Knight, which led to John's number 1 pick in the first round, the second overall pick. But Michael Caine as Alfred it's just the emotional crutch of connecting Bruce Wayne and his past to his future.
John, I don't believe going with a bad pick. Is that Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn?
About to screw it up because you mentioned the bad person from that movie.
By the end of the year, Harley Quinn will be remembered more as Lady Gaga than Margot Robbie.
Absolutely not.
By the end of the year, that will be the case.
Absolutely not.
Also,
She'll get nominated for an Oscar.
are we taking in account the success of the movies in this?
If you want to use that as a discussion point, you're more than welcome to make those arguments why another list doesn't work.
Because I think with a better choice, that Solo film actually doesn't suck. But that's just me.
It wasn't great.
I think
With a better choice for Harley Quinn?
Yeah, with a better choice for Harley Quinn. But I mean, you
can't
definitely
make that
have to
movie
make
without Margot
other
Robbie.
changes to that movie.
It is amazing 2 of your last 3 picks, though, John, have been recast here in recent years. And they're both still available to do the roles. So for it to be a perfect casting list and then move away from them on purpose, it seems...
I mean, they also have recast Alfred.
that
They
character
also
came
have
to an
recast
end.
Joker multiple times.
No, I'm saying that character came to an end. Those
Also
character arcs
recast-
came to an end.
Superman multiple times. I mean, they've recast half your
Yeah.
list too. I mean,
Joker's been recast multiple times, not to discount Jack Nicholson, but
recast
Rorschach's
3
been
times, 4 times?
recast. They did the Watchmen TV
TV
series.
show, yeah.
Okay, who are you going with here, Tyler?
I am gonna go with
Also, recasting Harley Quinn and Joker now, that is not even remotely the same universe or even
Harley
time-
Quinn's
even
been on
timeline.
screen once. Joker's been on screen tons of times. Harley Quinn's been on screen once. You could still go with Margot Robbie. They've decided that they're going to move away from her playing that role.
She's been on screen 3 times.
Suicide Squad.
the
The
Suicide
Suicide
Squad,
Squad.
Talking
Arrow
about
City.
the character of Harley Quinn has only existed in cinema one time.
But you cannot cast her in the Joker movie. It's a completely different timeline, completely different universe. Then you're all of a sudden you're tying in the universes.
I think it's just telling that they've moved away from these iconic performances. That's all. Making our arguments.
All right, for my next pick, I don't know if we could call it iconic, but certainly a good choice. And I couldn't see another person playing this version of the character. I think Michael Fassbender knocked it out as a young Magneto.
He is the second best Magneto.
Your list is very X-Men heavy, for sure. Very X-Men heavy. I don't want that necessarily used against you, but you are definitely going back to that well over and over and over again.
Oh, don't pick J.K. Simmons. He
Steal of the draft, J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, he was. That's the cheesecake of this week.
It was.
And for the next, I've never liked an interpretation of this character better than this one. I think he's got the look, he's got the gruff in his voice, he's got the personality. Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon in the Dark Knight trilogy.
Very good choice. You agree, Alfred, the one out of the 2 you would go with, but Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon is a fantastic choice.
I actually had Gary Oldman higher on my list than Alfred, but I do love Michael Caine as Alfred.
Okay.
That's
All right, last pick here. Cherry on top of the sundae. What is John Lunsford going to do with his very final pick?
Was Gary Oldman my final pick of the draft?
That is correct.
Oh, dang it.
Well, I'm going to try to see if we can finish what may be a really strong contender. Once John makes his final pick,
Captain America, or Chris Evans as Captain America, rather.
You can say, oh, well, he's been recast. Well, guess who they keep going back to the well to get? Chris Evans. They did it this past weekend, and they're going to do it again.
Yeah, but he was Human Torch.
Yeah,
It's a
you thought
dumb
he was
argument. I
Captain
just wanted to
America.
argue
You
against
thought
it.
he was Captain America.
no,
It's a dumb argument.
my argument would be if he was like, truly top tier, he would have been taken a lot earlier. I think it's a good casting, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's a sleeper pick because it does feel like they could have gone a couple of different routes with the character, just in my opinion.
You can't have Robert Downey Jr. 1 and let Captain America slip all the way down here. I just knew y'all were not going to pick him.
Yeah, I think
Because I know you're not a Captain America guy, and honestly don't know what you think about Chris Evans. But
not huge on Captain America.
I mean, I think it's fine as far as casting, but I've never been big on Captain America as a character. I think the Winter Soldier movie's pretty solid, though. That's basically just like a political thriller. But
Robert Downey
with
Jr. is the
Marvel
main
characters.
character. Chris Evans is clear number 2.
I'm so happy to have this final pick. It is something that I was holding on to as a sleeper pick that is going to hopefully be very strong. I'm going back to our next Joker casting. It's going to be Mark Hamill as the Joker in Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which received a theatrical release.
Yeah.
And this is going to be the pick that solidifies that Team Tim, I think, is the strongest list.
I can't argue against it because remember how I asked if Kamish was my final pick? Should have gone with Mark Hamill. Also in Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker.
Yes.
Fantastic movie.
And, it's just I was lucky to have received it because I knew he was high on Tyler's list, and I don't know if it's like physically written down over there or if it just was out of mind or whatever. But
I didn't have him written down, so he kind of slipped.
Yeah, that's a no for me.
Okay, so here's our final chance to go through why our lists are the best, and then we will have the audience vote in the chat here. I do think we missed. If I would have gone another time after this, I would have went with Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther.
He was on my short list as well.
But 8 rounds is where we will leave it, and that is where we are. All right, really quickly, we'll go through our lists, and if you feel like yours is the best, make the case as to why. I will, as we take a shot here of the list, Tyler, I'm going to point out that the clear number 1 pick, and I think anybody would have gone with this had they had the number 1 option. I think it is sort of unanimous, especially right now with where we are. Iron Man, played by Robert Downey Jr. I said it before, I'll say it again. Christopher Nolan said this is one of the most consequential casting decisions that's ever been made. This is the reason that the MCU became the most successful film franchise of all time. It's because of this sole casting decision and then building everybody around him. That's the way they decided to do it. That's the way the history books tell us that went. And that's the way things are continuing to go with Robert Downey Jr. now being sort of brought back in a different role, but the impact of that role being so significant that it's worthy of the amount of money they're paying for this. Christopher Reeve is Superman. Superman is Christopher Reeve. And Christopher Reeve, I know he's playing Superman in this list, but he was also an incredible Clark Kent. And he played both roles as the same character, and he was able to somehow capture the charm and the klutziness of Clark Kent with the optimism that really made you believe men could fly in the theater as Superman there with Christopher Reeve. There is no other Superman on this list for a reason. Everyone had the chance to go with Henry Cavill. Nobody decided to take that option because Christopher Reeve is the Superman that you first associate with film.
Could we have gone with Henry Cavill as the Calverine?
You could have. You could have gone with that.
Oh, well,
you
dang
really
it.
wanted to waste that pick.
That would have been perfect casting then.
We all know, we all know that J. Jonah Jameson was the steal of the draft. He should have, I think, let's just say it goes Iron Man, Joker. Even in my 3rd and 4th picks, I'm working in J. Jonah Jameson there as J.K. Simmons. J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. They're one and the same almost because of how perfect the casting is. Jack Nicholson's Joker, I believe, is the best on-screen Joker we've ever seen in the history of cinema. He absolutely owns that film, and one of the biggest mistakes I think that they made was killing him off, but it was a very iconic death the way they killed him in the 1989 movie, and he continues to be championed as one of the most electric comic book performances of all time, and he's the reason that villainous roles in comic books became so in demand from so many other people because of what he did as an A-lister coming in and dominating that role, perfectly cast as Jack Napier and as the Joker in that film. Jackie Earle Haley as Rorschach, I think, is in contention for another steal of the draft. It is a perfectly cast role where when you think of this actor, you think of this performance and not anything he's ever done before or after. In his performance of Rorschach, he's fantastic with the depths he brings to that Watchmen movie. Tom Hiddleston as Loki, still lives on to this day as being a fantastic casting choice. And what kind of role will he have in the future of the MCU? You'll have to stick around and find out, but it should be very exciting. And he is someone who had all different parts of his character being shown in the range that Tom Hiddleston brought to the role. Alfred is Michael Caine. I've said the heart and soul of the Dark Knight trilogy. I fully believe that. His monologue at the end, or during The Dark Knight Rises, the shot of him at the cafe, seeing Bruce Wayne finally enjoying life and living life. That's what I hope to have with John Lunsford one day. I hope to be at a cafe and look over and see John Lunsford smiling and laughing.
After you thought I was dead?
And drinking some wine after I thought you were dead and enjoying your life there.
Thanks.
And
Question mark?
You're welcome. And then we have Mark Hamill as Joker. This is a steal as well. I mean, iconic role, and you want to talk about longevity. We talked about it with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Mark Hamill dates back even further than that with Joker and what he's been able to do. His laugh is probably the most iconic Joker laugh that exists.
Yep.
And I actually felt bad about how strong of a way I ended this with Mark Hamill as the Joker, because it put it over the top to where I don't think it can be competed against, but we're going to give John a try. Do you believe Team 2 is better than Team 1?
Yes, I do. Because the best Joker to 95% of the world is Heath Ledger's Joker. And you have multiple Jokers on your list.
I think it's Jared Leto.
That lose, and nobody thinks that. But the majority of people think Heath Ledger is the best Joker, and you have multiple Jokers who are behind him on your list. So therefore, the one Joker beats the two. Professor X is maybe one of the most comic accurate castings in Patrick Stewart, who also played the role flawlessly over a lot of movies, including in the MCU now. Green Goblin with Willem Dafoe is what started Spider-Man off and what ended up making Spider-Man a giant movie franchise across 3 Spider-Men, across multiple versions of it, and was so good that they brought him back once again in the MCU to play that role. Every movie is only really good if it has a good villain in it, and Green Goblin was that, as was Joker with Heath Ledger, as was Thanos with Josh Brolin. You all turn your nose up when I said that, but what is by far and away the highest grossing movie? The one with the best villain, who was played by Josh Brolin. And that doesn't work if Josh Brolin does not pull it off correctly. Hellboy is a movie that I'm assuming neither one of you had on your list, because it is not a typical Marvel DC thing. I know Watchmen is not either, but Watchmen, I feel like, has better reach overall than Hellboy. I could be wrong on that, but Ron Perlman was perfect for Hellboy. Absolutely perfectly cast in that one. Doc Ock, Spider-Man 2 is considered the best Spider-Man movie by the majority of people. Once again, the seconds typically do that, and Alfred Molina knocked that one out of the park. So good. Once again, they brought him to the MCU as well. Good villains have to exist in order to make good movies. Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie was so good that they completely recast everything about the Suicide Squad except for her, and then they gave her own solo movie after that had a bad villain in it, but she was still Harley Quinn, and there's no way you can make her work in the Joker universe. And if they ever brought Harley Quinn back in the DCU, which I do not think they will, it would not surprise me if they brought her back for that as well. And then if Robert Downey Jr. is 1, which I agree, Captain America is 2 when it comes to the MCU, when it comes to Marvel superheroes, and Chris Evans came back after playing Johnny in the Fantastic Four and played that role, played it with a better probably trilogy of movies than Iron Man's solo trilogy. And Winter Soldier is considered one of the best MCU movies out there. Civil War was incredible. And obviously Captain America was so worthy, and Chris Evans was so worthy of it, he even got to lift Thor's hammer at the end of it all. And then happily died an old man, which is the only reason he is not Captain America anymore. However, I somehow think we may end up with Chris Evans playing Captain America yet again in Marvel.
So there we have it. John's case for why team number 2 is the absolute strongest. And now we go to Tyler. Tyler, I have to ask this question every time we do a draft. Do you believe that you actually have the strongest draft of this week?
So if we're being 100% honest, I have the second best team. But I do think I have a better team than Team 2. Logan, Hugh Jackman, absolutely changed the character, made it his own, and has had just a crazy run of success with it, going on 24, 25 years. Ryan Reynolds, I can't see anybody else playing Deadpool, because Deadpool's humor is Ryan Reynolds' humor. It is very referential, very sarcastic, and that's exactly who you want. Kelsey Grammer as Beast, I think it's just a spot-on casting. Same with Chris Hemsworth as Thor. Chris Hemsworth looks like a Norse god in real life, so why not cast him as one? Blade, that character was redesigned after the Wesley Snipes movie to be a little closer to Wesley Snipes' portrayal of him, and it kind of just shaped the character, the success of those movies, and that's why they brought him back and why I think they will bring him back again in the future, and not just because the Mahershala Ali Blade just can't seem to get off the ground. Same deal with Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury. They redesigned the ultimate version of Nick Fury from the traditional look from Nick Fury and his Howling Commandos to one that was just based on Samuel L. Jackson. So they casted him, and it works. Michael Fassbender, I think this is a bit of a wild card in my lineup, but I think he plays young Magneto so well. He's got that look of anger throughout that whole movie, the determination. He's got the right accent, right build. It just works. And then Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon. He looks like Gordon. He sounds like Gordon. And he
Tastes
is
like Gordon.
he might even taste like Gordon. I don't know. But I think it's a great pick.
So there is the question here from Josh. Now, just for fun, if these three teams fall at airport scene from Captain America Civil War, who wins? And it is Tyler's team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not if Thanos has the stones.
Well, if he doesn't have his stones,
So I'm going
You're
Thanos
gonna
from Endgame.
snap away the
therefore
healing factor?
I'm going Thanos from Endgame. I just snapped them away from existence.
Thor, does he have
Can't heal if they don't
Stormbreaker?
exist.
Does he have Stormbreaker ready to go? Because
I should aim for the head.
well, he did in the end game, and
He
it
didn't have
worked.
the stones, though.
So anyway, I do think Tyler's team wins in like an all-out fight. My team does not win in a fight. J. Jonah Jameson, what is he going to do back there? Yell at people? I mean,
What's Alfred going to do?
What's Alfred going to do? My team does not win in a fight, but that is not the argument. The argument is which of these are the most perfectly cast groupings, and while all of these are very strong, it is up now to the audience to figure this out as to which team do you think is the most perfectly cast for their roles. I asked that.
See Jace in the chat with 1, 2, 3, and Jeff with 3, 2, 1. So that's 2 second place votes for John.
That's the only one without a third place vote. I consider that a win for me.
a first, and also the only one without a first place vote. John, you left that out.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So Josh throws in a 1-3-2. Jeff with the 3-2-1, like you mentioned. Jace with the 1-2-3. But you guys go ahead and get those votes in, and you can put them in order from first to second to third, and we will total those up and figure out who put together the ultimate superhero cinema casting list. And then we will work on what will be our next draft next week. We're going to try to do a draft every Tuesday. John clearly won the dessert draft.
It's okay. I did the best with food, which clearly I did the best with.
And you're doing even better with our friends at Way to Wellness. Okay,
That's
we
right.
won't do that whole thing again, but we do appreciate Leslie and her board-certified team. We have Josh with the 1-3-2, as mentioned. We have Hunter with a 1-3-2. We have Steven with a 1-3-2. 1-3-2 seems to be
I've been cleaning up with second place.
been cleaning up with second place. I do still think, Tyler, and I like your list. I really do. There's a lot on there that obviously Logan and Deadpool, if they had been around any longer, they would have gotten eaten up. But it's the Beast with Kelsey Grammer that I think was just the one you could have saved. I think you could have held on to that one.
I could have tossed it. I should have picked Mark Hamill as Joker. That is the Joker performance that I always go out of my way to champion. So I don't know. I don't know why I didn't pick him. That's very annoying to me.
I was just blindly lucky that it was still available at the end of this draft, but I was totally planning on going with Chadwick Boseman in the role of Black Panther, and it just happened that Joker from Mark Hamill. I actually thought you were saving it for your last pick over Commissioner Gordon, but anyway, it looks like we're going to close out the voting here soon, so if you have any more votes to get in there, please do, but John voted for himself, which is very nice, and then voted for nobody for second place and nobody for third place. So
Sounds about right.
that seems like that shouldn't be maybe included, but I don't know. But there we go with that. And I feel very strongly about the team that's been assembled here.
Also, if they fall, Patrick Stewart could just, mind stop everybody from doing whatever they're doing. So, just throwing that out there.
Can Superman be mind stopped that easily?
Yes.
I thought kryptonite was his only weakness.
Nobody's ever had to get in his mind before, have they?
I'm sure he's had many of comic book.
I
try
feel
to
like
get into his
that
mind.
would be Brainiac's go-to.
Yeah. But I feel like Superman is strong there to at least help my team. But can he do anything to pick up the slack of these other teams? I'm not sure.
Yes, Magneto's the only one that could potentially stop that if he has his helmet on.
All right. That is going to do it here for the Meltdown today. We appreciate everybody weighing in with their votes. If you're watching this not live and you would like to jump in with your votes, you can leave those in the comment section below and we will tally those in to the final score. But right now I'm leading the vote, and I appreciate everybody who sort of has looked at these in a non-biased way and gone like, okay, let's lay this out. So there's no other way to say we're very competitive here in the studio, and we will continue to compete. John, tomorrow you have a huge Meltdown Triple Threat Trivia Championship match. Any word of advice to your competitors that are coming in trying to give you a run for your money? Last week it was all about a Luntz's list of 5 ways to try to play your best strategy, play your best game. And this week it's all about warfare now, right?
I did not give my best strategy. I just gave some words on the board.
Okay.
And my advice, or what I hope for my competitors tomorrow, is that their car breaks down on the way here.
Okay. Well, John is looking for vengeance here. He's ready to fight, ready to go. And then
To be vengeance, you have to have lost, and I am the winner. So
you are. Tyler, you are the helpful aide tomorrow as well. And last week you weren't called upon once. The week before you were called upon 1,000,000 times. What do you think's going to happen tomorrow?
I don't know. Russell, he went to me a few times, I think. But, yeah, that's the only person I really see going to me, because John only does it if he wants to lose a point, so that way he can hear my answer and then not take it. So I don't know. I expect to get used a little bit more than last week, but not much.
right. Tyler, I have gone to you 9 times.
Oh, gosh.
He's got the spreadsheet.
I have gone to you 9 times, and I have won 6 of those 9. So not always just going to lose a point there.
All right.
Sometimes I truly need your help.
Sounds like he's throwing you some flowers here. I would just take them and run with
I
them.
appreciate that, because there's also sometimes you didn't. So I'm close to 9 out of 9 on that.
All right, that's going to do it here for the Meltdown. John, don't forget about our title sponsor. That is MyBookie, getting you ready for the football that is right around the corner.
Go to mybookie.ag, use promo code NEXTROUND. You see it in the corner always on our show. Promo code NEXTROUND. You can play in the sports book. You can get ready for football season, play some futures there. You can also play in the casino. You can play in the live casino with real dealers, real blackjack, real roulette, all that stuff, fun stuff. Go to mybookie.ag, use promo code NEXTROUND, get a first deposit bonus on us.
All right, thank you so much for that. And thank you for all of our Meltdown listeners, subscribers, viewers. You guys have been tremendous, getting us over 100,000 views to this point on the channel. We just passed that mark, and we are so very grateful for your support as a proud member of Meltdonia. So thank you for being here for the journey as we continue it on throughout the summer season here, as we've got tons of content prepared for you this week. Meltdown Triple Threat Trivia. We've got our Meltdown Arcade on Thursday. Trap is going to be huge for us this week. Josh Hartnett returning to the screen in a title role or a major role, the lead role in the new M. Night movie. We'll have all kinds of coverage surrounding that. And we'll have a Laurel's List, counting down the 5 best M. Night movies ever made. It's all happening right here. Retro trailer reactions, tons of stuff coming out of this studio. And we will see you again tomorrow, live, 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern.